Hey, everybody, what's up? And welcome to another episode of the Spotlight series presented by the Black Podcasters Association, where twice a week we shine a spotlight on a Black podcaster, creative, or podcast support professional from my online community. My name's Corey Gumbs, and I'm the founder as well as your host for today. Before we get started with our interview, please make sure you like, subscribe, and tap the notification bells if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're interested in helping to support us to keep creating content like this, please buy us a coffee. You can find that link in the description as well as other information about the Black Podcasters Association. If you're watching this on Facebook, please make sure you go to streamyard.com/Facebook so that we can see your comments and give them the permission that they need to do that. But without further ado, we're going to introduce today's episode. We'd like to welcome the owner of Platinum Podcast Editing, one of our members in the group, in our association, Reid. Just to give you a little background, Platinum Podcast Editing helps its customers to handle tasks like editing, booking, and management. But to better explain what he does exactly, I'm going to allow Sean to take the floor. So, hey, Sean, what's up? How you doing? Can't hear you, bro. I don't know what happened. Wow. Interesting. We're having some technical difficulties here. I can't hear you. We were just talking a second ago. Interesting. Check your connections, bro. So with that being said, this is what happens when you live stream. Sometimes things go down, don't happen like you want them to. 1 second. Still can't hear you. I don't know what happened here. There you go.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, maybe I pulled the cord out. So,
all right. So, hey, this is what happens when you go live. Anything and everything will happen. So
it's crazy.
How you doing today, bro?
I'm great, man. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you part of the spotlight. You have the privilege of being our first podcast support professional, as I like to call us, to be on our shows. Typically, we've had several podcasters on here, so it's good to give the other side of the business, where we sit down and actually talk to someone who's behind the scenes. So, I guess let's just talk about how you got started. How did you get involved into editing, and how did you come up with your company?
I went to Full Sail, which is in Winter Park, Florida.
Fellow alumni.
Oh yeah, I didn't finish, but that's a different story. But um, went there. Always been into audio. I used to try to make beats like 20 years ago. So I've always been into audio and audio, like manipulation. Um, Fast forward to 2015, I started listening to podcasts and noticed that, hey, this could be kind of easy. I could do this. So I gather up some friends and we started doing a podcast. And that's how I got into podcasting. But so we stopped doing it for a variety of reasons. Um, but I figured, like, since I know how to edit, maybe I could do something with this. And fast forward even more years, that's how Platinum Podcast Editing comes along. Excuse me.
No problem.
But so yeah. And I still like editing audio. I still like listening to podcasts. I still like dealing with this sort of thing. So I figure, hey, why not? Instead of doing my own, let me do somebody else's. It's fun and I like it, and maybe I could, actually do something with this.
Okay.
I'm an independent thinker anyway, so I was looking for something to get into that would get me out of the traditional 9 to 5.
Okay. So you started. So basically, your roots before you started your company was you were involved in you were actually podcasting.
Yes.
So you
definitely.
got experience on both sides of
Oh
the
yeah.
coin. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. I was I was on a podcast called Grime Lords, and we just talked about like you know, all the crazy black people news. So,
Okay,
things that will happen and, hip hop and TV and sports and, regular life for regular people. And we just had our own take. We're from Detroit. So we talked a lot of Detroit stuff.
okay,
Unfortunately, all but one episode was deleted. So I don't really have too much proof of it. We did like 52 episodes. And it wasn't by me, of course, but we lost the podcast pretty much. So there's not much proof, but it was a good time.
okay. So you guys had 52 episodes. That's
Yep.
you was doing it like once a week?
Yep. And then a couple times we doubled up.
Okay. So
We
you guys pretty much some good experience under your belt in regards to
definitely.
actually being a podcaster. How has that translated to your editing business and how you developing your editing skills over this time?
It definitely showed me that you know a lot of the things that I'm sorry when you hear the like the finished product, it's a lot that really goes into it. It's not just like you said earlier, you sit down and record. Even though it can be, you just sit down and record. Generally, that's not how it's done. It takes, depending on what you're talking about, research. It takes, making sure you have the right software, make that's compatible with, the things that you want to use. It takes actually sitting people down and getting together, which might be the hardest part.
Yeah.
So it's a lot that goes into it.
Is that
So
part of Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, so that's what I try and handle for clients. All the so you can't just sit down and record for the most part. Like I'll get the people, I'll get your show taken care of through me. I'll do all that stuff, but that's what I try to handle for clients.
Alright, that's what I was gonna kinda ask you, is that how you led into the podcast management part?
Definitely.
So, for the people watching, because we do have a lot of members in our group and a lot of people out there that don't understand the intricacies of running a podcast, right? So, we see a lot of the podcast gurus that put out videos and talk about, "Yeah, just do it, just do it, just do it." Let's talk about it from the back in the back room side of it, look like because I do, we do similar things. I have my
Mhm.
studio, I do editing, also help book customers and all that stuff. So let's talk about that side a little bit more. Like, what should people expect when they sit down with you? Let's say they come to you and say, "Hey, Sean, I want to start a podcast." Let's talk about your process and like how do you walk them through that process and what are some of the things that you help them to learn and understand about building their podcast?
Well, first I have a form with I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's like 7 questions on there that I ask that I determine if we can even work on a podcast together.
That's
Just
important.
yeah, just from that. So the clients that I have now I didn't use that with them. They already had everything going.
Mhm.
But so that's not what you asked though. But so it all goes from that form. If I'm not really feeling these answers to the questions, I will decide like, yeah, I don't think so. But start with that. Uh, do you have a title for it? Do you have a theme? Who are you to this? Are you somebody with an opinion, or are you somebody with facts? Um, as in, are you like an expert on this, or is this just, of course, if you're reviewing movies, who cares? You don't have to be an expert on that. But if it's something scientific or mathematical, I would kind of hope that you'd be an expert on it. But so I'd like to find out those things
Mhm.
just so I can know. Okay, is this something that's gonna go for a while, or will this be like a one episode thing? And you're like, okay, never mind. I don't know what I was thinking.
Right. Okay. I mean, because it is important. I like that you said you got to figure out if it's even worth like if you even have a podcast, right? And I think that's one of the big things that are important in this space is that we as the professionals help our clients guide them through that process, right?
Mm,
You know, um because not outside of just the longevity part, it's just the work and the expectations have to be met as well, right? You know,
Definitely,
we have to manage the expectations of our
definitely.
clients as well, because as we know, and you and I both know, and we see in the podcast industry, for every podcast that does succeed, there's thousands that fail. You
Yeah,
know, so ensuring your client success is important to ensuring your own success as a person who does management, editing, and provides those services to your clients. How do you go about so you have your process. So
mhm,
what's like after that part, let's say, okay, yeah, I'm ready to, this is gonna work. How do you organize the clients? Because I know that's one of the hardest things for me is getting people, like you said, getting people to sit down, especially if there's multiple people, multiple
definitely.
decision makers, and getting everybody on the same page. Like, how do you go about doing that?
You know what? Honestly, that's that's kinda on them. Like, my clients have that issue now. They have children and they work, so I kinda leave that to them
Mhm.
because you know your schedule. Like, platinum podcast editing is platinum podcast editing. I can't control you guys' personal work schedule.
Right.
So I really leave that to them, and I just try and make it as as simple as possible. Okay, if you can't be there for the live at this time, can you like record something and send it to me? Well, I try to leave that to them
Okay.
because it's easier that way instead of me. Now I will schedule some outside people. But when it's like a group of people, like I said, like my clients there, and they do a podcast together. I told you about them before, but
Yeah.
they do a show. One lives in St. Louis, the other one lives in Tampa, and so when they get together when they can, due to different time zones and different work schedules. But that's on you guys, just because it's easier for you because you know what you have going. I know what I have going, but my time is all over the place just because this is a 24/7 operation.
Right. So
So
okay. Sorry.
I was gonna say, but you aren't recording 24/7. But you do have work and you do have outside engagements. So take care of that, and then I'll help with the outside people.
All right. So how do you like what is your editing workflow like? What do you work on? You know, I know some people out there like myself. I love to hear what other editors are working on, what their workflow is, how do they what is their philosophy with the editing and stuff like that with working with clients. What is some of your like what is your workflow? What is your bringing my tech background into this. What is your editing stack? What is your equipment stack?
Honestly, I just use my MacBook Pro with
Mhm.
GarageBand or iMovie, and oh, excuse me, I listened to the podcast like 3 times. And so I just try to pick out what I can that I can see needs some editing. And of course, I'll ask like, "Hey, what do you think about this, or what do you want added to this or taken out?" But I'll definitely listen to it a few times before I do anything to it. I don't mark it down. I should mark it down. I know that would make things move a lot faster, but it's still just me listening to it, so it confirms it. Okay, at 132, I heard this, and so it just confirms it. But I know just from listening, of course, not all the time, but I know from listening to it 3 times, when I hear it that like fourth time as I'm actually editing, I will remember some of those spots. Like,
Okay,
okay, I
that's
remember this was like horrible. It was a. I remember when I used to do my podcast, one of the guys had like a mouth slurp or something like that, and it was so loud and terrible. When I listened to it, like, that 3rd time, I knew exactly where it was. It was the first thing that I changed because it was so terrible, and I felt so bad for anybody who woulda had to listen to that. And, it's like before he said something, like, I was just like, "Oh god," like, "Oh, man, that's got to go." But because I listened to it so much, I knew exactly where it was.
okay.
But
That's
so
sorry. That's important because actually I'll give you credit because he did it before he spoke. Imagine if he was doing it while you was talking.
oh, mm,
It's like trying to work that magic that's like, I don't know how I don't know how to fix this without degrading the audio and
definitely.
degrading everything. So I mean, that's good I'm glad to hear that. 3 passes, that's, so do you speed that up? Because I know some people speed that process up when they're listening. They do
No,
it to 1 times or, 2x or 1.5x.
no.
I haven't been able to master that either myself, but I heard that after a while you train your ears for it, but
Yeah, I feel like I would miss something. I just if it's 3 hours long, it's 3 hours long.
damn. And you listened to that
So
a couple times?
yeah, yeah, I have.
We gotta sit down and talk about that workflow a little bit
Yeah,
and
I
improve
have.
that because that's I mean, because one of the things I think is hard, and I think podcasters need to understand is when they see the rate that somebody charges, is that this is not a simple process. It's not me just reading through your podcast and just pressing some buttons and it's magically edited. It's that
Right.
it takes time. So you mentioned I hope it's not a 3-hour podcast because that's a lot of time, but you mentioned
It's been some.
you're listening 3 times, you're listening to it 3 times to make sure that you as the editor catch all those little things that a lot of times most podcasters aren't even aware that they're doing, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes I go back and listen to what I do and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's how I talk?" So, you know,
Exactly.
um, so I mean, that's a lot, and I always tell my clients realistically, editing is a 2 to 1, right? For every hour I have, it's gonna take about 2 hours to edit and get it straight.
Yep.
Give or take, right? That
Mhm.
window might shrink, that window might go a little bit longer, but that's to me, that's a realistic expectation to set. So when I'm doing it, I have to look at, well, how much time am I spending on this project? How much time am I spending on it? And break it down to like a job, right? If you charge 35, $50 for a project, which I hope you don't do, but if you charge $50 for a project and it's 3 hours, now you gotta take that 50 and divide it by 3. Then you
Mhm.
start to realize, "Hold up, this is not gonna work. I'm getting paid
Right.
more at my job than I am doing
Right.
this." So, I think it's important for podcasters to understand that part, that there is a level of quality control that we do as editors to make sure that we give you the best product finished product out there, and we catch all those little things.
For sure.
Um, what's your philosophy on ums and ahs and all those little quirky sounds that people make? Are you one of those editors that delete it all, or
I
do you
try to get all of it unless it's like, so close, it completely destroys the oh, somebody said I'm a strong G. I don't know what that means, but
That's when that 3
basically
hours when you said 3 hours, that popped
oh
up.
yeah. Yeah. But unless it's too close, like it'll definitely mess up the conversation. So if it's like my clients now, the crazy stuff that they talk about, it's a lot of ums in there.
Okay.
And so it sometimes it's just so close to what they're trying to say. I'll leave it in there because otherwise there's no space in between there to stop. Goes into whatever else they're
Yeah,
saying. So that I'll leave in. But if there's like a half a second space in there, I'll get it.
yeah. Now I thought you mentioned you use GarageBand to do your editing. I'm gonna say and tell you for me, and this is not me endorsing any products or anything like
You
that.
told me.
I'm impressed that you're editing on GarageBand because
Oh
that's
yeah,
the first one I decided to try to do it on, and I was like, I couldn't do it on. It was just it was just me, it's just how I like to do things. It just wasn't robust enough for me.
I mean, it's got its limitations, but of course, it all depends on the type of podcast you're doing. Like so
Mhm.
far, it's just been speaking. Now, when I used to do mine, we of course illegally had music on because we didn't know any better. But we had like music. Um, weren't too many sound effects. But what I've been working with now has just been all speaking. So it's kind of like you don't really need anything, super, just because it's just speaking, and it's not any. They're not like storytelling, or they're not.
Right.
Um, just nothing. It's not anything like fancy audio wise, I'll say.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't need like Logic or Cubase. Um, took it back to the old school on the Cubase, but but you get what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
some of that stuff would be it would be overkill, just for speaking.
Right. But you know, those some of those programs though, they do give you a little bit more robust functionality
True.
in being able to really go in and do real specific edits. But you know, it's one thing I learned, you know, from my background in music and you know, just in life in general. Just because you have a $10,000 Pro Tools studio does not mean
That's true.
you know what you're doing in that $10,000 Pro Tools studio, right? It doesn't mean just because you have the best Mac or the best programs on there doesn't mean you know what you're doing. And I think that's important for podcasters to understand is like um podcasting, you know, we see these setups, we hear people using all these things, but not realizing that sometimes it just comes down to the person, how they see your podcast or hear your
Yeah.
podcast and their philosophy on how they do it. So for like me, myself, I don't remove all ums and ahs because to me, I like to get the natural. So like
Mhm.
I do like you do. I'll listen to a podcast I only listen to it one time, but I do write down my notes, which might equate to the same time as listening to it 2 or 3 times, right? Because I gotta stop it, write my notes,
Right.
play it again, you know, and I'm getting used to using markers and stuff like that I use Audition for a lot of editing, so I can actually add markers at certain points, and then
Oh,
I just
nice.
put my notes on there. I think you can do it on GarageBand. I don't know, don't quote me on that.
I might have to look
But you
into
might wanna
that
look you'd be surprised how much it helps with that,
for
right?
sure.
But I'll write my notes, and then I'll go back and do the edits that I saw in my notes. And sometimes you write notes the first time, you listen to a second, you're like, "Nah, I'm just not gonna do that," right? But I
Right.
like to give a natural feel, so I have to listen to each person and how they talk, and then try to clean it up a little bit, but also allow them to be who they are as a speaker, because sometimes the removal of ums and ahs can just make the podcast sound really robotic to
For
my
sure.
and that's my opinion,
For
and I
sure.
think that's important too for us to talk about is you have an opinion on what you like you say you remove all of them. I'm like, well, I'd like to keep some here and there. Um, I think what kind of advice would you give podcasters? Um, would you give podcasters that are um actually looking for an editor or somebody who does what you do?
Uh, be prepared to actually like participate in this. This isn't like a one sided thing. Like I'm not your employee. You're not my employee. We are partnering together to get your podcast to be how you dreamt of it. So, of course, I'll take your commands because this is your podcast. But like we're literally working together. I don't work for you. You don't work for me. We're working together. You know, like you go get a landscaping company. You want your front lawn to look like this. Okay, so they're gonna make your front lawn look like this, and that's it.
So basically you should rely on your expertise.
No, no, not so much rely on my expertise, but um, kind of. Also, let me add this in too. Know what you want. Also, like I've had an issue with that with a client of mine who it was just like, okay, so you just do everything, and that's it. Like, well, no, but what if you want this included or this taken out? It's like, okay, well, wouldn't you know? It was like, yeah, I could know, but that's my opinion. What if you want something taken it put in or taken out? How am I supposed to know that? Like, I need to know that part too.
Right.
So that's what I mean by like we're working together. Like you have your ideas and opinions, and I'm going to try and make it how you want. But I also need your ideas and opinions.
Right.
This isn't like this isn't a restaurant where this is what's on the menu, and that's it. This is you getting what you want here with platinum podcast editing. You get it how you want. If you want the volume taken up on this angle, I'll take it up on that angle. Or if you want it down, or if you want to echo here, however you want it. But if you know you want that, then let me know.
Okay. So basically having a good communication. Well, I always thought that that was important. Like communication between editor and the client is important. I need to know what your views are. I'm a
But
little bit on the other side. Like at some point, I feel like you have to rely on my expertise, right? I've been doing this. I've
I'm not
worked
mad at
with
that.
clients. You know, there's some things that people want that they don't understand that it's not going to help.
Right, for sure.
So, um,
I just mean in the sense of like a client of mine, she wanted to actually like film some stuff.
mhm,
And I'm like, okay, well, we have to well, typically when people film stuff, they have it like planned out already. So like we need to plan this out because there are certain angles due to lighting that you want. She was just like, well, why? It's like, well, because that's how it works. Like that's how you get things to look the best, and that's how you get it to. You don't want some amateur looking stuff. Well, I mean, of course, we're amateurs, but you don't want it to look like we're amateurs. We want this to look like professional stuff.
we're not
And
amateurs,
so
bro.
you said what?
We're not amateurs. We
No,
may not be where we want to be, but we're not amateurs.
right. But I mean, we're not
Yeah,
like uh, in Hollywood, and
yeah,
we're using cell phones and stuff like that. So it's not professional equipment, but I get what you're saying. That you're absolutely right about that. And we have to change our outlook. Like, no, we are professionals doing this. That absolutely right. I like that.
yeah. I mean, because we all have to. I try to rephrase, and I wasn't trying to like step on your toes or anything. I just
I
want to.
dig it
We as a community have to rephrase how we see things because you're doing it. This is your business, right? This is my
for
business.
sure.
And even though we may not be exactly where we want to be in our business right now, or even in your podcast, right? For those podcasters that are watching, we're putting a lot of time and effort and energy into what we do to perfect our craft. So, um, you know, that's how we raise the standards for ourselves as well as the people we work with. And like what you were saying, there's a portion where you have to explain to the clients, like, no, this is the reason why you have to do this. It's not me just making up some random rules, right?
Right.
And I want to see you win. So I like that, and I think for me, when I talk to people about finding an editor, that's one of the things I talk about. Your editor should be teaching you. He should be helping you. Should be guiding you. Shouldn't just be send it to me and then I return it back to you, um, because you just want any old thing. I mean, I've worked with some editors myself when I outsource work that are like that, but I also make sure that they understand clearly what the picture is. So I
Right.
send them all. They hate me sometimes. I send them all these documents and stuff like, here are all my notes. Please make sure. And then then I do my Q&A. I do my quality assurance and then my QA, not Q&A, my quality assurance, and then I'll be like, all right, here, I need you to fix this now. I'm very particular about how I do
Nothing wrong
things.
with that.
Huh?
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, because my clients are paying and
hmm
they need to, and I have a standard for myself that I want to have. So, but
I think what's important for people to know is that for you to take anything and oh wow, thank you. I appreciate that. For you to take anything to the max, you need a team. And so I'm a part of your team. Platinum Podcast Editing is, a part of that team
mhm,
that's gonna assist you, whatever capacity it may be, and get it to the top. So like LeBron's got a team, Jay Z's got a team. You have to have a team out here. Kevin Hart has a team.
right.
So I'm just I'm one of those teammates.
I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk to you about the podcast management part because I'm going to assume you're the central figure in helping podcasters bridge that team, right? In regards to the management services, how does
Uh,
that work?
so far, just for booking. I haven't had anybody come to me and ask for anything like outside of that. Like, hey, can you find this? Can you find that? So far, it's just been for booking. Anything else, it's been asked of me to handle, which don't have a problem with that. But that is the point. That is the point. So I do, connect you to others and others to you, and whatever capacity you need concerning podcasts. People might want some weird stuff. I can't help you with that. But concerning podcasts, I can find somebody who knows this person or who does this, and we can all have a conversation about it and go from there. That was my central point in starting the management side, though.
Okay, cool. So what are some when in regards to your company, if somebody was wanted some advice or was had some confusion about podcast management, what would you how would you help them guide them through that process with your company?
Honestly, I would say I'm doing for Platinum Podcast editing. Will do everything with the exception of recording. If you need booking, you want to get on shows, have plenty of contacts, and it's easy anyway. But I can take care of that for you. Um, you need your show edited, take care of that. You need, like I said, literally all you really have to do is record and get your. If you have a group of people that you record with, you have to take care of them. But I'm handling everything else.
Right. Okay.
I'm not gonna
Um
be scheduling you guys like the Wu-Tang Clan or something like that. Okay, the RZA says he can be here at 9, and what time can you be here, Method Man? I'm not doing that. But literally everything outside of recording.
okay. So how would how would somebody come about contacting you for your services and basically if they want to reach out to you and have a consult or hire you for the services, how would they go about getting that?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is the home base. It's the easiest for me to use, but it's home base, so you can always find me on there. Twitter, you can find me on there. Facebook, I think it's Platinum. Okay, well, there we go. I was gonna say I think it's the whole name on Facebook, but
Yeah, it is, but on you can actually a lot of people don't know this on Facebook. You have your little at name on there, and you can just add it. So that's what it comes up as. I did some.
okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, shoot, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
So
try to do my research for you guys, because sometimes it gets confusing and stuff. But I want to make it so that people can reach you, and of course, we can't forget your website.
absolutely, Platinum Podcast Editing.com. Now, people might go there and say, I don't see any podcast editing things on there, but what I do have on there is a platinum backpack, which has a oh man, it's my favorite part. It has a combination lock on it. It's got plenty of pockets. I came up with this because I figured people have all this equipment sometimes, microphones and webcams and computer and all this stuff. So came up with a laptop. No, came up with a laptop backpack for podcasters. So it's smell proof, it's water resistant, it's got a ton of pockets, got a USB thing on the outside so you can plug your devices into. You have to have your own mobile battery, of course, but it's got spaces for it. So I had one myself. Somebody stole it because it's so great. They had to have it. But so there's a kit. You can get a microphone or a webcam. Um, Now, for the podcast editing and management, I have the Calendly on there, so you can book with me. It's at the very end of the links. But everything else is all it's all online.
Okay,
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the website, of course.
so they can find that the book bag and everything at the website, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
Um,
Got shirts too. Got merch. I got a black one on currently, but I got a blue one, a silver one, navy blue one. There was a red one floating around somewhere, but I'm not really sure what happened to that. And hoodies too. Got hoodies, long sleeves, sweatshirts.
all right, so you got the whole merchandising thing set up.
I do, I do. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get it all going. Got a ebook on there that tells people how to build a podcast. If you're interested in reading the ebook, um, I'm out here, man. Check me out. Check me out.
All right, before we wrap up though, I definitely want to ask you a couple more questions. What does it mean for you to be a black editor in the podcasting space? Because representation matters for us, and we see a lot of people on the forefront as hosts and podcasters. But what about on the backside of the back, in the back room, on the back end, whatever you want to call it? What does that mean for you in this space?
It means for me, I can personally, I can slide around and be a ninja because I don't have to be out front. I don't have to be, which is how I like to be. I don't, I don't want to be out front. I don't want to be in the spotlight. Other than this, of course, I don't want to be. I don't want to be seen like that. I don't want to be just some big fancy name or something. I'm very comfortable just being in the background. Uh, you know, you 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 need anything? Hey, you call Sean. He's a background connector. I don't know how he knows this person, but he knew him, and we got connected, and it's been on ever since. But so for me, it perfectly fits my personality. Just not trying to shine too much.
Mhm.
I'd rather let Platinum Podcast editing get to shine, and I stay in the background, and not to be in the shadows or anything like that. But I feel like it's better if the business gets to shine over like myself. I'm not Puff Daddy or anything like that. So I think it's more important for it to get to shine.
Right. So you're more like Suge.
Definitely, definitely.
If you
That
don't want
that
somebody dancing around on your podcast,
Yeah,
come
for
on.
sure. Or Slim. I might be more like Slim from from Cash Money. I've never heard Slim's voice, not once. I know exactly what Birdman sounds like, but Slim, never heard him talk.
Right.
Might sound like Lurch or something. I have no idea.
But
But
so for because you're one of our last spotlights for the year for
mhm.
2021. What are your plans? Where can we see your company going in 2022? What do you want to try to accomplish in 2022 for your business?
In 2022, I definitely want it to be bigger. I have, unfortunately, I lost a client, so that kind of sucks. But uh, still got my main client. Hey, thank you. Um, so I want to add more clients, of course, and I plan on. I don't know how I'm going to get this to work, but I don't care about that. I'm going to make it work. I plan on getting a studio. So it'll be a dedicated podcast studio, so people here can record their podcast if they don't have equipment at home.
Right.
Um, of course, no idea what's going to happen with COVID and that kind of stuff. So I have no idea. That is a whole different story. But that is the plan for right now.
Yeah,
Start
that's
working on a studio.
man. As you and I both know, the studio part is not always the easiest part, especially when you have a physical location, which is one reason why I went mobile because I was always trying
Definitely.
to gauge the. I was like, well, having a physical place is overhead, right? And
Hmm.
having electricity and the rent and all that stuff, or I could just provide a service to my clients in an environment that they're comfortable in, whether it's their office,
For
home,
sure.
or just if they want to do like live podcasting, right? They're at an event or something like that. So I definitely urge you to get creative in that space. Um,
Got that going too.
yeah, and I don't know the market in Detroit in that I'm in New York City, so there's a high level of
Of
competition in
course.
regards to podcasting, studios. So definitely look into that part too. Like, you might be onto something in the area you're at, right?
I
So
think so. I
I
think
wish you good
so.
luck with that, and you can always reach out to not only myself, but there's plenty of members in the group that can help as well. So,
I appreciate it.
that's
You know what? Speaking of the group, I'm not sure if I need to like leave and come back, but whenever I go to the the group page, it's like completely blank. So I
on
might have to
Facebook.
yeah, on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That one, that
Happens
one,
to everybody?
we can talk about that after, but
Okay, for sure.
I don't know what's going on with that part, but it is Facebook. Or for those people who are watching, our group is on Facebook. For right now, we're one of the largest Black podcasting groups on Facebook. So, and I'm going to plug that. I've learned that you have to start plugging a lot of the things that you do.
For
So,
sure.
um,
For
but you
sure.
said you brought that up. So since you've been a part of the group, despite the technical issues you've been having, what is it meant for you to be a member of a group like what we have at the Black Podcasters Association?
Man, I haven't been able to see anything in like a month just because of
Man, you
that.
should have reached out to me about that a month ago.
I,
Man.
It happens. Like it's like I go look. Oh, let me talk to Corey. Up, something else happens. End up getting into something else.
Yeah,
But
I understand.
I haven't been able to see anything, and it's been about a month, I would say.
Okay.
So I was gonna say, if you see me leave and then re-request to be back in, that's why.
Okay.
Because
I
everything
know.
else shows up, but the Black Podcasters Association is like completely blank. Other than that, I get all the notifications and everything, but I can't see any of it.
Oh, well.
But it is a very cool thing. The little bit I did see is a very cool. It is a very cool network. I think a lady contacted me looking for an editor too from this group. I'm in actually like a few different groups, but I believe it was this group. She seemed like she was like real professional and real like about her stuff. So I would fully assume that it was this group because that's what this group is about. But um, I like it so far.
All right. Well, we're gonna work on getting that technical difficulty fixed because I know we actually physically we've actually met face to face through one of our meetups that we had. So and I know that wasn't that was your first time really engaging with us, right?
Yep.
So okay, that's good.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. That
before
was
you
really cool. I had never done anything like that before. That was like really cool.
okay, and I know we had a great experience and a really good conversation. So and I really appreciated having you there with
For
us.
sure. Absolutely.
Because as much as you guys learn from us, we learn from you as well. When you ask questions or you give your advice or to other people. So don't think that you're not being heard, even though you haven't been able to see the group.
Right. Right. For sure.
um, but before we go, I definitely want to ask one more question from you. Um, what is some, or actually ask you to, what is some what is some advice you would give to podcasters who are on the fence about editing services, whether it's a financial reason, a control reason, or just they just don't understand how editing works and the benefits of it? What would be some advice you would give to those people out there?
It's a difficult thing to give advice on that because it would be like some people prefer to cook their own food. Some people prefer to mow their own lawn. There's nothing wrong with that, but uh, somebody editing your podcast can free you up from editing, especially if you're bad at it. It can free you up from editing for you to do something else involving your podcast or something else in general. But so look at it like that. You don't have time to edit. You don't want to edit. There's somebody out there who'll take care of that for you. That person's me.
Platinum podcast editing's here to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At your service.
Well, I do agree with that point, and I think people need to understand, editing is not a simple process, and it's a time-consuming process. And I know for my services, I try to push the point of, you don't need the stress of editing because it can affect your creativity. So
Definitely.
I think that that's some great advice, letting people know that this frees up your time. It helps you not to have to worry about it's one less thing for you to worry about doing,
Mhm.
especially if you're under a tight production window. So,
There's one less decision to make.
right. And then if you have the right rapport with the person, then it's almost like, well, I already know what to expect from you. So you just send me the files, and it's a level of confidence between the two of us, right? We've worked with each other, or we understand how each other works. I
For
understand
sure.
what you were looking for. You understand how I work, and boom, we just come up with a great finalized product. So that's definitely some great advice for those people who are on the fence. So I urge you guys to definitely reach out to Sean. Again, his website is platinumpodcastediting.com. You can
Yep.
his home base in the social media space is Instagram. So
Instagram.
make sure you reach out to him on Instagram, support him there. But he's also on Facebook, as well as Twitter, right? And it's all
Yep.
at
Editing.
Platpod Editing.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
it's like a tongue twister for me.
I'm sorry.
But,
Sorry about that.
that's not you. That's I think that's gonna be a whole nother conversation. But having your Twitter, your handles, all the same across the board just makes things easier for everybody, right?
For
So
sure.
I remember. Unfortunately,
Honestly, I couldn't keep up with it if it was a bunch of different stuff. So just make it all the same. Like it is far too much social media out there.
yeah,
I admire the people who can, do all these different things, but I can't keep up, so it's all got to be the same for me.
All right, brother. Thank you again. I wish you much success in 2022.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
Also appreciate you being a member of the organization, despite Facebook putting you in the corner and putting you on
Yeah,
a
for
blackout.
sure.
We're going to handle
Stepchild
that today. We
treatment.
try to figure that out today. But appreciate you being here and talking about your business again. People, please support Platinum Podcast Editing. Sean has on his
Yes.
website. You can schedule a session with him to sit down and talk about the services he can offer you.
Get
Um,
yourself a shirt.
and
We got shirts for
shirt to
if
support
you
the brand
want.
as well. But thank you again, Sean. We're gonna just close out real quick. And thank you guys for checking out the Spotlight. Tune into our next show coming up this Friday, December 31st at 8 p.m., where we're going to have another podcast association member of the All Things Right. Always Right. Excuse me, I always get confused. The Always Right podcast, Nivlat Lamage, and I always screw up his name, but he's been a member of our group for a very long time. So please make sure you come join us this Friday at 8 p.m. I know it's New Year's Eve, but what better way to bring it in than hearing about a great story of a Black podcaster from our association.
Right.
Again, if you guys are interested, please make sure before you leave, you support like our channel, subscribe to it, follow our social media. If you'd like to support us and helping create content like this, you can buy us a coffee. All the links to our association and to buying us a coffee can be found in our description on whatever platform you're watching this on. And Sean, again, thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to talking to you again in the new year.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right.